the thing about getting the bike pacing right is that it's in and around that 70 to 85%. One leg. Morning, Trainiacs. As race season is getting underway, getting a lot of questions these days about how to pace the bike. How to pace the run, but also how to pace the bike. If you can pace the bike, pacing the run is a lot easier. Let's talk about pacing the bike. So here's the thing about, So the thing about getting the bike pacing right is that it's damn important. You go too hard, you're not gonna be increasing your speed that much more because it's exponentially harder the faster you go to increase your speed. I'll explain more up there. And you're gonna toast your legs and probably have a bad run. The difference between a really good bike and a really bad bike is, I don't know, like maybe 5%. The difference between a really good run and a really bad run is 20-30%. So getting that bike pacing right so that you're fresh for the run is really critical. It takes a little bit of thought, a little bit of practice, a little bit of testing, a little bit of knowledge. That's what we're gonna share today. I might feel as if I lost a hammer fight yesterday, but I still got some brain cells, just a couple, not many. All right, so two of the best ways to figure out your race pace are FTP, which is functional threshold power. The next best way is rate of perceived exertion, RPE. Functional threshold power is something that you do with a power meter on a bike. They cost anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000, $4,000. Rate of perceived exertion is free. This is where most of the beginner training programs that we've laid out, specifically in triathlontaren.com/coaching that Coach Pat has created, are based off of, because most triathletes just getting into the sport don't have a power meter to calculate their FTP. How you start figuring out your race pace is by doing a test, and typically it is a 20-minute test where you are going as fast as you can possibly go for that 20 minutes. In the case of calculating your FTP, you take your average power from that 20 minutes, multiply it by 0.95, getting 95% of that, and that is your FTP number. In the case of rate of perceived exertion, you take that and you just kind of make a mental note of how hard or easy that felt throughout the course of that 20 minutes. Start by doing that test about 3 to 4 months out of a race, and this gets you some training zones. Around here, you can get your training zones to know how hard or slow you need to go for an easy ride or a really hard ride. You go up and down around that FTP, as I've talked about in other videos. Same thing with rate of perceived exertion. Let's say that your FTP number here, in my case, it's around 240. In case of rate of perceived exertion, which is on a scale of 1 to 10, you do this 20-minute test and you feel like you can get it to a 9 over the course of that 20 minutes. What you end up taking from this is a range of about 85% at the top end of these two numbers, all the way down to around 70% at the bottom end, and this range is where your race pace is on the bike. And it's within this range that you actually do the bike portion of your race. Now, there are a few different factors that ramp up or down where you fall within this 70 to 85%. Something like this. As distance increases, your race pace needs to decrease. So in the case of, say, a sprint distance race, you could be up here around 85 to 95% of that max effort. Because a sprint distance is going to last anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, it's not like it's that much different than the 20-minute test. So you can go up to 85 or 95% of that. However, when you start getting into an Ironman or a half Ironman, that number is closer to the 70 to 80 range. In my case, when I did the half Ironman down in Campeche in Mexico, my number was 75 to 80%. And 80% was just at the top end. There was no way I wanted to go over that. Now also, as your fitness increases, your race pace, I'm writing this sideways now, can increase. So it's in and around that 70 to 85% that you want to think about, and you use factors like the distance of your race and your overall fitness, your experience with triathlon to determine how fast you should or shouldn't be going in your race. Now, this is critical to figure out for a few reasons. In the case of the bike, the amount of effort that you're putting out to get faster, it's not a straight 1-to-1 ratio that you put out 1 extra unit of effort and you get 1 extra unit of speed. Right around the 25 kilometer an hour to 35 kilometer per hour mark, you need to put out more and more and more effort for smaller and smaller and smaller incremental speed. So you've got to find a sweet spot where you're not putting out so much effort that you're ready to blow up, but you're getting close to that maximum amount of speed. Because when you get into, say, over here, this is like a danger zone. This is where you get into the 85% of your maximum effort and more. When you start getting into that, it's not like you're getting that much faster, you're just toasting yourself more. Let's say a good bike for me in a half Ironman is around 2 hours and 30 minutes. A bad bike, we're talking awful here, is somewhere around 2:45. However, if you talk about a good run for me, in a half Ironman, 1:35, but a bad run being upwards of, say, 1:55, the difference here is 20 minutes, and the difference here is 15. Even my Winnipeg math knows that. But why this is so critical to figure out is because the difference in perceived efforts for these is immense. To do the 2 hours and 30 minutes, I need to be killing myself. To do somewhere around 2:35 to 2:40, it feels really, really easy. Let's say 2:37 is what I'm going for. That's right in here where I'm not putting out a lot of effort, I'm saving myself, but I'm still going quite fast. And let's say I'm only giving up 7 minutes past the best possible bike that I could do. If I do that, because I'm going so easy, I can get the run down to around here, the 1:35. However, I guarantee that if I absolutely toast myself on the bike to get that 2 hour and 30 minute bike, I'm gonna have no legs on the run, and I'm gonna be lucky if I do a 1:55. It could be even more because walking slows you down so much. An easy bike barely slows you down at all. So I'm giving up, say, 7 minutes to make sure that I'm going easy on the bike so that I've got a chance of gaining 20 minutes on the run, gaining myself somewhere around 13 minutes overall. It's life and limb for you dudes. Figuring out your bike pacing, which tends to be a lot easier than you're capable of going, is a really important part of having a good triathlon. Go too hard, and sure, you might set a land speed record on the bike, but you're gonna have a pretty damn tough run. Go too easy, you might give up a few minutes, but you're setting yourself up to ease on into the run and negative split it, maybe have a personal best run, and that's where you can gain a lot of time. It's not how fast you can go, it's how little you can slow down. Wise stuff, huh? So we lost a fairly key member of the Triathlon Taren production team earlier this week that I gotta go deal with right now. I mean, it's not critical. We can make do without this for a few weeks, but it's certainly gonna lead to less pretty vlogs. fun, respectable bike lock. So I don't need to be all secretive about this, but show you. One leg, two legs, three legs, fourth leg. Camera. That actually happened this shot. That was ever so popular in the marathon swim video. The thing about gear with vlogging is that none of it's perfect. The drone, it has a tendency to disconnect from the phone. This camera here has bad low light, as you can see by my face being all yellow and grainy right now. GoPro, terrible audio. There is no perfect vlogging setup, just like there is no perfect time to train, no perfect triathlon watch, no perfect triathlon running shoes, bike, yada, yada, yada. But you know what? Vlogging, life, triathlon, you just kind of pick it up and do it. You bash off the walls, you figure it out. Sure, it might not be perfect, but it's better than doing nothing. That's not very motivating. You're better off than you were when you started. There you go. That's much more motivating. Okay, that's a good place to end it. We droneless. Sorry, Trainiacs.